Hi everyone, I'm Levi and I'd like to first introduce you to my sister Emily and also to her wonderful dog Nikki. We're here to tell you about the importance of teaching a dog basic obedience. The skills we're going to talk about and demonstrate are the fundamentals for a happy pet owner and a well-behaved dog. We'll go over some tools and supplies that will aid in training, the simple obedience that's good to know, training tips and techniques, as well as some essential pet care and grooming. Both of us have trained dogs in the past, so most of what we will talk about comes from personal experience. However, we did do some research on the American Kennel Club, or AKC website.
Before we get too far into this presentation, I'd like to introduce you to Nikki. She's a purebred AKC registered golden retriever who I got as a puppy 3 years ago. Together, we have completed 4 obedience courses. She won a couple of shows at the Hardin County Fair and mothered a litter of 9 puppies about a year ago. We do a lot of things together, so I thought I would bring her along to help demonstrate some simple obedience. Keep in mind that she can do all the skills on command, but she is an animal with her own will.
Nikki and Emily trust each other, and they like each other. Getting along with the dog is an important step in beginning simple obedience. Most dogs want to please their owners and are constantly trying to do this. Let me guess, you're probably thinking, not my dog. He digs holes in the yard or makes a mess in the house when I leave him alone. And when I take him for a walk, he ends up walking me. The issue arises when the dog doesn't know what you want from them. A firm verbal scolding is the next step. Look the dog right in the eyes and say, no.
I often see people with a naughty dog. And trust me, they tell him no all the time, but not in the right way. A dog doesn't understand English. All he hears is the tone of your voice. It doesn't do any good to crouch down beside the naughty animal and say something like, no, Nikki, don't jump on the couch. Suddenly, in her mind, jumping on the couch is a game that we both like to play. It's much more effective to catch the dog in the act of jumping on the couch and say firmly, no, Nikki, don't jump on the couch. It's very important to catch her while she's jumping so that she knows what she's doing wrong. She may not understand all of what your scolding means, but she hears no in the tone of your voice and realizes that you don't like what she's doing.
You can't just leave it at that. The next part is important because the dog is constantly looking for praise. Showing the pet what you would rather have them do is essential. I want Nikki to sit on the floor next to me, so once she's off the couch, I would bring her up to me and tell her in a commanding but not scolding voice, Nikki, sit. But she doesn't know this is the right thing unless I tell her. Now is the time to use a playful voice and scratch behind her ears so that she knows she's doing something right. Good dog, Nikki. Good girl. Good sit. It's productive to use the command when praising her. This way she associates the praise with following the command.
This is a very good way to train a dog to listen to you and ultimately trust that what you say is right. The dog realizes that you are in charge and will begin to listen and follow instructions. Once this trust and sense of order is established, the dog can be taught anything with the right equipment and plenty of patience. An important part of training for and caring for a pet is having the right supplies. The majority of pets that I've been around wear a nylon buckle collar like this one. It contains their vet tags as well as their owner's contact information should something happen to the dog. It's also comfortable and fairly tight-fitting, so it shouldn't get caught on things around the house or in the yard.
A lot of people leave this collar on their dogs at all times. They use it to take their pet for a walk and everything. This isn't bad, but a chain collar, or choke chain, can be a very useful tool in having a well-behaved dog. It is a simple concept that is really effective. The dog knows that when he is wearing the choke chain, it's time to work. He should stay at your side, sit when you stop, and stay until he's released. A choke chain is also helpful in getting a dog's attention. The chain slips through a ring on the end of it, so that way it can be adjusted bigger or smaller. The leash then clips on the other end, and then as I pull on the leash, it will tighten around the dog's neck, hence the name choke chain. The most effective way to use a choke chain when walking a dog is to give short, jerky tugs on the leash and give the command, heel.
Nikki, heel? walk on the left side with their shoulder lined up with my leg. If they're not there, giving short but firm tugs on the leash and restating the heel command will get their attention and bring them back to you if they're lunging ahead, or up to you if they've been lagging behind.
Choke chains come in a variety of sizes and styles. There's this tiny one here for the smallest of dogs and young puppies, an average sized one like this that a dog like Nikki might wear, or a really long, thick one for the largest of dogs that can stand up to lots of pulling and hard tugging. There are also modified chains with spikes on the inside that prick the dog to get his attention better. Another option would be a head harness, like this gentle leader here. It slips over the dog's nose, like this, and then buckles behind his ears. It helps in keeping control of the dog that has a hard time paying attention because it keeps the owner in complete control of the dog's head.
When the dog is heeling, the leash should be relaxed and hanging loosely next to the dog. One thing to keep in mind is to never put your wrist through this loop on the end of the leash. No matter how well behaved the dog is, at any point he could decide to run after a rabbit or chase a car, and if you're caught in this leash, you could be hurt. This probably isn't going to be an issue with your little tiny dogs, but even a dog of Nikki's size would have surprising strength and be able to harm someone who's caught in the leash. So it's best just to hang on with both hands and never put your wrist through the loop.
In a show situation, you can't talk to the dog other than to give the initial command. But if you're just out for a walk, talking to the dog keeps their attention and will help prevent them from wandering around. Another useful skill that is essential in the show ring, but a practical exercise to know for a leisurely walk around the neighborhood, is the sit command. And not only with a verbal command, but to have the dog automatically sit when you stop walking.
Mickey, heel. No. Mickey, heel. Teaching a dog to sit is simple. You'll take their collar in one hand and push down on the base of their tail with the other. Stand up. Nikki, sit. Be careful not to push on their hips because this pressure on their joints can cause health problems later in life. Once a dog respects you and realizes the rules of the house, as well as being able to perform both the heel and sit commands, owning a dog can become much more enjoyable. From here, you can expand into other useful commands, such as lay down, stay, and come. Teaching a dog to lay down is similar to teaching them to sit. You'll take their collar in one hand and pull down toward the floor, giving the down command. Nikki, down. Good. Be sure to give them lots and lots of praise. Teaching a dog to stay and come can be a bit more challenging, but it's very rewarding. When you begin to teach a dog to stay, you'll want to start out at a short distance, even as much as standing right in front of their nose. Give the dog the stay command and step right in front of their face. Stay there for the allotted amount of time and return to their side. Praise them. When you begin to teach a dog to come, you'll want to again start out at a short distance. Give them the stay command and call them as you back up. When you stop, the dog should sit in front of you. Nikki, stay. Nikki, come. Remember to praise the dog so that they know they're doing the right thing. Another thing you could do would be to branch off into more fun tricks like shake or speak. The same process of giving a firm command, lots and lots of praise, and a strict correction if needed will get surprising results.
Another way to get a stubborn dog to work for you is to use treats. Most dogs are always in the mood for food. This was the technique I used to train my dog. However, there are pros and cons to using this method. A dog will do almost anything for a treat, and a lot of people in the show world use them. However, it is extremely difficult to wean a dog off of treats and to teach them to listen to your voice. So, if you're prepared to be constantly toting around dog treats, this is an extremely effective method. But for a person who would rather have their dog constantly ready to work, this may not be the best option. Nikki wasn't trained with treats, with one exception. She won't speak on command unless she thinks Emily has a treat.
Nikki, speak. Bigger. Good job. This is one action that Nikki will rarely do simply for praise. Under normal circumstances, she'll do whatever I ask of her. My family contributed a lot to Nikki's training. If they hadn't all been willing to make Nikki listen, she most likely wouldn't behave for all of them. A family wanting a dog to be loyal to every member must commit to each individual taking time to provide basic care for the dog and making him obey. When Nikki was a little puppy, she went a lot of places with my family to help socialize her and get her used to people so that she would behave under all circumstances.
Nikki was a farm dog though, so whenever she goes out somewhere, she typically needs a bath, or at least a good brushing first. After she's been groomed, she smells a lot better and her coat is a lot fluffier and softer. An important part of dog ownership that often gets overlooked is keeping their claws trimmed and teeth brushed. It is healthier for the dogs, and keeping their claws short will prevent that annoying tapping sound and damage that can be caused to hard surface floors. These are often tasks that are not enjoyable for either the pet or the owner, but it is very beneficial to perform them.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. I hope you learned something about the simple obedience that's good to know, some tools and supplies that will aid in training tips and techniques, as well as some essential pet care and grooming that you can take home to your own dog or pass on to someone who could use it. There's more helpful information on training a dog at the American Kennel Club website, akc.org. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you learned something. Are there any questions? Yes. Can you repeat that? The question was, why do you have to have a leash? The leash is a good thing to have because the dog cannot get more than however long 4 feet away from you. So this dog can work off leash, but since there's so many people and different distractions at the fair, it's better to leave her on leash. Yes?
The question was, what is the easiest command to teach them? I would say heel. On the leash, it's really easy to keep them right up next to you and keep them just walking along beside you. Yes?
The question was, how do you give her a bath? Usually during the summer, I'll give her a bath just outside with the hose and some shampoo, but during the winter, or for some reason if the weather's not nice, I bring her in and put her in the bathtub, give her a bath in the shower. Well, if there's no other questions, that concludes our presentation. Thank you.